if I'd been the sort of politician that had endorsed the rollout and told you to go and get it, I'd be deeply concerned about that advice that I'd given, especially when, after the fact, we can see that through the European COVID inquiry that it was never tested for transmission, despite countless politicians showing themselves proudly rolling their sleeve up and telling us to get this particularly profitable drug slapped into our arms that hadn't been tested for transmission. I can't be clearer about that. 40,000 care workers looking for work because they were sacked because they didn't want to take a new drug that they were wary of. Bearing in mind they're in the medical profession, they see stuff going on all the time. They didn't want it in their bodies. And we had a government and we had politicians who openly and readily threatened to sack them and followed through with it. So the people walked away from their jobs despite the fact they had a clean record, they'd not done anything wrong in the workplace, because they wouldn't take part in an experimental rollout. I'll quote the words of Stefan Ulrich from Bayer when he had the chance to speak at the podium at an international health conference, where he said, "Can you imagine 2 years ago if we'd have asked people to take a brand new gene therapy into their bodies, we would have had a 95% rejection rate." A gene therapy into their bodies. The clue's in the vocabulary, really, isn't it? So what I'm asking from all MPs, whoever you are and whichever party you're standing for, is that in future, when anything's happened with a health risk, you keep this shut about taking drugs. You keep it buttoned, because you're clearly not up to giving that sort of advice. Sajid Javid got it wrong, Matt Hancock got it wrong, Lee Anderson got it wrong, Richard Tice got it wrong, and everyone else who showed... Tony Blair got it wrong, and everyone who showed pictures displaying themselves, taking it in the arm, got it wrong. It was never, ever as good as you told us it was. People still got sick, the side effects are through the roof. The rapid cancers are now associated quite confirmly with this particular type of drug, because as Stefan reminded us, it's a brand new gene therapy. It is definitely not a regular sort of vaccine. The social media platform owner of Facebook is also culpable in people making the wrong decision, because the counter-narrative was stifled. The sensible counter-narrative that science should always be accompanied with, this side and that side, was stifled. People like me and people with better qualifications than me could not get that information out. We were taken down because they did not want to upset the narrative that made all the money. Pfizer made 100 billion in just under 12 months. It's come out today in the Telegraph that the Royal College of GPs accepted a £100,000 donation from Pfizer just at the time they were recommending that you got your kids vaccinated. And people still get sick with it, but all of a sudden it's disappeared. So I want to be assured by politicians moving forward that instead of rolling you out like little paid-for mouthpieces, telling people to take a drug, the last bastion on this planet that we've got control of is inside our own bodies. And body autonomy is paramount to anything else. No one will tell me what to put inside my body. That will be my choice always. And if it had been everyone else's choice, if you'd given them information from an informed platform instead of the propaganda pumped out by the BBC, where everyone who died within 28 days of a test was deemed to be a COVID death, even if they'd fallen off a ladder, even if they'd come off a motorbike. One woman even had to argue the toss because of a suicide in the family. How ludicrous, how misleading. Did you really need to do that to trump the figures up? So all I'm asking for moving forward is that ever a crisis like this comes along, I don't want to see people parachuted into number 10 who are billionaires, who make more billions from their advice telling the government to spend billions on their products. I don't want to see that. I want to see a fair and honourable government that looks after its people and its needs of its people first. And the first thing you can do is get some more beds put in the National Health Service, because any brain-dead amoeba can see that if you've got a country with a growing population, you should be increasing bed capacity, not decreasing it. And that's a cross-party problem from Labour and the Tories. So hopefully reform will be the next government, and somebody watching this will be listening to this. This is sound advice, by the way, for your campaign methods. Oh, trust me, this is sound advice, because half the country is really naffed off with how we've been treated through lockdown. Businesses crushed, family life crushed, care homes left with people to have the most desolate death they could have, funerals cancelled, funerals where you couldn't even hug your loved one that's going through the worst day of their life, and weddings cancelled while a health minister gropes and fondles an advisor he brought in, paid for by the taxpayer. Buckle up, because you're not going to get away with it in future.